right, joining me now to get into some best bets for week 12 of the college football season and to discuss some of the top storylines is our guy, Brad Powers. Brad, how you making out today?
Hey, doing well. Doing certainly better than the ACC teams are doing that on this fine Monday.
Indeed, yeah. So let's get into it. As we always do on your Monday appearance here, what are your biggest takeaways out of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the national narrative is going to be about Indiana's great win over Penn State and Oregon escaping over Iowa. I like to go a little bit further in the weeds. Let's talk about the ACC. It was another bad weekend for the top of the teams in that league. Louisville loses outright as an 18.5 point favorite to Cal. Virginia loses outright as a touchdown favorite. Again, looking more and more like the ACC is going to be a one bid league. Speaking of one bid leagues, looks like the Big 12 is going to be a one bid league, but not because of disappointments, but because they might have a dominant team, that being Texas Tech. Now minus 1,200 to make the playoffs. They crush BYU, likely heading to the Big 12 championship game where they'll be a considerable favorite in that one. Group of five is coming into some clarity here. Down to four teams, as far as I'm concerned. Three teams out of the American and James Madison out of the Sun Belt. The three American teams are South Florida, North Texas, and Tulane. So four teams vying for one group of five playoff bid. At least we're getting some clarity there. I will say this: of the major conferences, the SEC is a slam dunk to give four. I think they're going to give five. And you don't have to get too creative, Joe, believe it or not, to see the SEC getting six teams, half the field being from the SEC in the 12-team playoffs.
Wow, can't wait to get there. Okay, let's talk about the team on your hat there, Brad. I don't know if you wore that on purpose, but Ohio State improves to 9-0 on the season, smacking Purdue by 24 points. They didn't cover that
They
spread
did
for
not
us, though.
cover. No.
I was, tailing that incredible covering streak they were on, but it did come to an end. But of course, they sit at the top of the odds board for the national championship. Directly behind them, we have Indiana, Alabama, Texas A&M, Ohio State versus those teams on a neutral field. What would you make the spreads?
Ohio State would be three over Indiana right now, who is my number two rated team. You can add another point against A&M, so they would be favored by four over Texas A&M. And then you can add another couple of points if they were to play Alabama, so they'd be close to about a 6.5 point favorite if they played the Crimson Tide. So Ohio State's starting to separate themselves a little bit from the rest of the pack, but still, it's not like a huge gap like we've seen in other years. But we'll see. They got a couple more games of data points here where I think Ohio State's going to even further themselves from the rest of college football.
Okay, it wasn't too long ago that Oregon was the toast of the town, having a nice season here at 8-1, squeaking by Iowa over the weekend. Now, I remember after they beat Penn State, you and a lot of other people were extremely high on them. Are you still really high on Oregon?
No, and let's be honest, it's not necessarily Oregon. It's Penn State that win didn't age too well. Keep in mind at that time, Penn State was thought to be a top two or three team in the country, and they won on the road. So that's factor number one. Number two is obviously they lost to Indiana at home. That was not a great look for Oregon, but they're banged up right now. Several starters were out of the Iowa game on offense. Nice win, but they didn't cover. It was my only best bet loser last week. Now, Oregon will be favored in their remaining three games, but it's not like they have all layups. They got a layup this week, but next 2 weeks against USC and Washington, I got them projected to be about a 7 to 10 point favorite in both those games. So while favored, I don't know if it's a slam dunk that they're finishing the season 11-1.
12-1 to win the national championship for the Ducks. Okay, let's talk the Fighting Irish on an absolute roll here after starting their season 0-2, seven straight wins, all seven wins coming by double digits. I don't know. They haven't really beat anyone, though. They hosted USC. They took care of business there. So, assuming they get into the playoff, it's looking pretty likely. They're minus 380 to get in. How much do you like Notre Dame to go on a deep run?
Well, I'll put it in this way. I have Notre Dame number four in my power ratings nationally, and I'm betting against Notre Dame on most weeks, meaning the market has them even power rated higher than I do. If they avoid Ohio State side of the bracket, like I was just saying, I think Ohio State's starting to separate themselves from the rest of college football. They don't have the Buckeyes on their side of the bracket. I think Notre Dame can make it all the way to the national championship game like they did last year. The offense has more upside than last year, particularly in the passing game. CJ Carr's a top 10 quarterback in the country right now. They have the best 1-2 punch at running back in the country with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. The offensive line, this is key. It's in the weeds. They're expected to get a pair of starters back on the offensive line by the end of the season. They've been down 3 starters on the offensive line for the last few games. Defensively, not a good look at the start of the season. Major reason why they lost those first 2 games. But the last 7 games combined, they make great adjustments. They've allowed 21 points in the second half in 7 games combined. So they're certainly on the upside. This is a very dangerous team, Notre Dame.
Okay, it's a really weird year for quarterbacks in college football. A lot of guys who you expected to be in the mix for the Heisman, they're just not there. They're nowhere close to it. So you look at the odds to go number one overall in the NFL draft. You have Ty Simpson at plus 185. And there's a few guys that are going to get selected probably in the top 10. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, the Jets, the Saints, maybe the Cardinals. They're trying to run Kyler Murray out of town. Not going very well with Jacoby Brissett if you watch that game on Sunday against the Seahawks. How would you rank the top couple of quarterbacks here as NFL prospects?
I wouldn't draft any of them in my top 10. So
Wow.
we know probably 3 are going in the top 10, but none of them I would if I had the GM cap on. Out of the draft eligible quarterbacks, Dante Moore actually I'd rank number 1. I just think he's got more upside than Fernando Mendoza, who I'd have number 2, and then number 3 I'd have Ty Simpson. Not great distance between any of the 3, like clearly head and shoulders. We'll see how each of them finish the seasons out. I think it'll play a big part. Keep in mind, all 3 are first time starters at their respective colleges for this year. So they got some games left in them, and we'll see the draft process, come in spring. I will say this though, Joe, because I'm Mr. Negative for this year's draft class. Love next year's quarterback class. That will be the quarterback class where you want to be drafting, whether it's Lagway, Arch Manning. We'll see if they can live up to the hype, or 2 guys that I love, CJ Carr, Julian Sang. Those are the 2 guys. If I was looking for a quarterback that I'd be looking to get if I was at the NFL.
Hell yeah, that's what I like to hear. I like my Miami Dolphins use Tua as a bit of a bridge quarterback, get to the 2027 draft, and they will find their franchise quarterback, their next Dan Marino. We've been waiting for this guy for about 20 years or so now. Okay, let's get into some best bets here. We got some for the midweek and then one of the big Saturday games. Let's start Tuesday. Western Michigan, favorite or a point and a half dog at home to Ohio, and you like Western Michigan to cover that number.
Yeah, I got Western Michigan the slight favorite here. So wrong team
Oh, my
favored.
bad.
Why? I like the spot here for Western Michigan off a bye. Ohio off a fortunate win against Miami, Ohio, where they should have lost last week. And then also I like defensive home underdogs. Western Michigan's got the much better defense. So you limit points, you're getting points, you're at home. Western Michigan for me plus 1.5.
Okay, let's go to Wednesday. We have Miami, Ohio, a 3.5 point dog at home to Toledo, and you like the underdog here.
I do. Let's talk about the team that they're playing, though, Miami, Ohio. They're playing Toledo, who has lost 18 times
Whew.
outright as a favorite since 2021,
Oh
more
my
than any team in
God.
the country. So they do not handle the favorite role well. Miami's only lost 1 MAC game here in the last 3 years in the regular season. They're coming off a very rare MAC loss, that being last week, a game they should have won against Ohio. I'll take the points here, the hook with a good defensive team, Miami, Ohio, plus 3.5.
Okay, next up, let's go to Saturday, a big game. There's a few of them here this weekend in college football. Oklahoma, they're a 7 point dog at Alabama, and you like Oklahoma.
I do. So I like the number here plus 7. I don't think it's going to be 7 at the end of the week. In fact, it was 7.5 at a few books about an hour or 2 ago. They've been bought up, and even some of the sevens have been bought up a little bit. So why do I like Oklahoma? Number one, I like the spot. They're coming off a bye. They have a sense of urgency, meaning they got to win the remaining games to get to the playoffs. So I like that. I also like that they're the better running team. They're the better defensive team. Running game, defense, that travels for me. And I know Alabama's won 8 in a row, but they haven't been overly impressive in a majority of those games. But scoreboard's better than the box scores. I think it finally catches up to them. Oklahoma plus 7. Sprinkle a little bit on the money line here on the Sooners.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's keep rolling. Brad coming off a 4-1 week with best bets for us last week. Hopefully, we can carry that momentum into this one. Brad, as always, thank you for joining. Best of luck with your handicapping this week, and we'll catch you again on Thursday.
Thanks for having me, Joe.